Good evening, everyone. Call the Monday, July 1st, 2019 Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Before I do anything further, do we have any agenda changes for this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to amend the agenda to move the county manager's report to take place after the commissioner's report. And under new business, item A, the recommendation of the bid award for the historical boat building. I'd like to move that to the July the 15th meeting. And under the new business C, I'd like to remove that.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I jumped a little ahead of myself. I'm going to do invocation and pledge. We'll hold off on that motion for a moment. Mr. Bowman, would you like to do our invocation this evening?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this glorious day. Lord, I thank you for this county that we are so blessed to live in. Father, I ask you to bless our work this evening, that you would give us wisdom as we talk about the issues before us, Lord, that we would come to righteous decisions, Lord, and better our community. Lord, we ask this in Jesus.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I guess we have a few changes to the agenda.
You want me to repeat it all?
No, ma'am. Do we have a second for that this evening?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next up, public comment, and we have Miss Barbara Snowden here this evening. Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my name is Barbara Snowden, and right now I'm residing at 3076 Currituck Highway, Currituck, North Carolina. Changed my address for the summer. Okay. The reason I'm here tonight is to bring to you some information about an event that's happening July 4th. I'm not sure if you're familiar. I know that some of you are because some of you have attended it in the past. But on July 4th, we have a parade in front of the courthouse. The parade is limited to children, and it is a contest where they decorate their bikes, and we give out awards for the best bikes being decorated. Every student who takes part in the parade gets a $2 bill. And if you haven't looked at a $2 bill lately, look on the back of it and you will find a copy of the painting of the Declaration of Independence. The other part of the program will be the reading of parts of the Declaration of Independence. When you've got kids on bikes from 3 to 10, I'm afraid they can't make it through the whole reading of the Declaration of Independence. But I want you to realize that that is a continuation of Currituck County's historical tradition. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with something called the Liberty Pole. But when the Declaration of Independence was approved in Philadelphia, copies were sent out to all over the 13 colonies. And it took a while to get there. But when a copy of the Declaration of Independence reached Currituck, a small group of citizens had a meeting. They read the Declaration of Independence, and they raised a flag. We have no idea what kind of flag it was. It could be Don't Tread on Me flag or some of the others that were being circulated at that time. But that particular pole has been preserved since that particular time. It was under a house in Shawboro with instructions that if anybody destroyed that pole, that the land would revert back to the original owners. The largest part of that particular pole is on display at the Museum of the Albemarle. And a small part of that pole is on display at Currituck County Library. So if you get a chance, you need to stop by there and actually see part of the Currituck Liberty Pole. So by having a reading of the Declaration of Independence, we're carrying through a 240-plus year tradition that Currituck, being one of the few places in the United States, we can document that we had a public reading of that document for people to hear it. This is to invite you to join us at 10 o'clock in front of the jail. We usually do it in front of the courthouse, but it's going to be very, very hot, and so we're taking the shade of the jail. So we'll be meeting in front of the jail. The students or the kids who are riding the bike will start from Mr. Brumsey's law office, ride down here twice around the courthouse, and then we will pass out the prizes, and then we will listen to the Declaration of Independence. It starts at 10 o'clock. It is open to anyone who would like to come and anybody who would like to observe. And then after that, we will have birthday cake in celebration of our country's birthday. So that's the reason I'm here before you tonight.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? You've had your history lesson. I know I get teased that I can't talk here without at least giving you a little bit of a history lesson. Any questions?
When you say it's 10 o'clock, the old jail, correct? The
Yes,
okay.
yes. We'll stop the traffic in front of the courthouse probably about 9:45, and the ferry very nicely sends everybody out the other way. And we make sure that we only block off the part so that they can still get to the dispatch office. So we've got it down pretty well to how far we can block off and what we can do to go with this program. This is about the 5th year that we have done this, and it's a good thing for the kids. The kids really enjoy it.
And I enjoyed it too, Wes.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming last year.
I remember the Liberty Pole because I looked at it several times under that house.
Yes.
And it was amazing.
Well, it's interesting to walk into the Museum of the Albemarle, and that is one of the permanent displays for the American Revolution for this whole area. And we're very proud of having that pole on display at the museum and having part of it in the library. And I understand, I'm not supposed to say this, I understand there are a few more pieces of it around in some private homes in this county, but the majority of it is at the museum or it is at the library. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, I don't have anyone else signed up to speak this evening, so I'll close public comment. There's no one else in the room. On to commissioner reports. This evening, with our big audience here, we'll notice that we have Mr. Ben Steichleather, who's now assumed the position of our new county manager. So welcome, Ben, to your new official role finally as a county manager, first day. And we look forward to a long and fruitful relationship with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I look forward to it as well.
That's all I have from me this evening. Mr. Payment?
Just wanted to wish everyone a happy 4th of July. Be safe out there. Roads are busy. The highway department started on the roads in the south end of the county. People will see that. So just be careful out there. There's been a lot of accidents as of late, and I know Commissioner McCord can attest to that as well. So again, just be safe out there. Have a good time. Enjoy it. Celebrate. And that's all I got for this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Etheridge?
Yes, sir. I'd also like to welcome our new county manager, and I also look forward to working with you. I think it was mentioned at our last meeting, we've got an election coming up. There's the second primary, and Election Day will be July the 9th, and the polls will be open from 6:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night, and that is the Republican second primary. And one-stop voting's going on until July the 6th. So make sure you get out and vote.
Thank you. Commissioner Beaumont?
The only comment I would have is that when folks are out celebrating on the 4th of July, actually throughout the summer, to remember to hydrate. People get busy, they forget, down at the beach especially, and we've already had multiple emergency responses due to dehydration. So everybody hydrate or die.
All right. Thank you, sir. Commissioner McCord?
I'd just like to also congratulate Ben in the new position. Look forward to working with him and congratulate our previous county manager, Dan Scanlon, on his retirement. I know he's at home watching probably as we speak. Probably not, but just congratulate him. And like I said, everybody be safe on the 4th, out on the water, be it out on the roads with the traffic and everything. So that's it.
Mr. Etheridge, anything from you this evening?
I'll ditto everything that Kevin and the rest of the commissioners have said, but I'd also like to bring to the attention that last week the county lost a citizen who worked very hard in the cooperative extension office, Miss Alice Chapman. She worked very hard with underprivileged people in this county, helping them with, canning and growing gardens and things like that. She was 94 years old, but she worked very hard in this county, and she will be missed.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Jarvis.
Just because the civics teacher in me wants to remind people the real reason behind the holiday. It's not just a day off, it's the day that our country came into being. And I invite people, as Ms. Snowden has invited you, to look at the Declaration of Independence, to see what our complaints were about government, and then piggybacking on Commissioner Etheridge, get out and vote, because that's what this country is about. And I would say the 4th of July is a great time to reflect on why we vote. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next item on the agenda is County Manager report. Thank
you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to get some information out about our 4th of July events that we have going on. Over in historic Corolla Park, we're going to have a cornhole tournament, watermelon eating contest, children's game, live music, followed up with the fireworks show at dusk. The event will start at 3 p.m. Admission and parking are free. If you want weather notifications or alerts, or if something has been canceled because of the weather, if you text FOF19 to 888-777, that's FOF19, and you text that to 888-777. And just so that folks are aware, on the 4th of July, county offices will be closed, as well as convenience sites and the transfer station. So I know everybody wants to know if the convenience sites are open which days, so they'll be closed on the 4th of July.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Excuse me, you're talking about fireworks. What's the policy for individuals shooting off fireworks here in the county?
There is none. Don't do it. Don't get caught. And don't burn down your neighbor's barn.
Yeah, there is state law that prohibits certain fireworks in North Carolina. Our county attorney, I think, is going to check the ordinance and what we have specifically as well.
Sparklers.
There are a couple of approved fireworks displays in the county. One is at historic Corolla Park. And I'm not sure what day. There's one that's been approved at the Eagle Creek subdivision.
Saturday
night the 6th.
Saturday night the 6th.
7 to 11 o'clock.
7 to 11, okay.
Fireworks about
The
9
fireworks, I
days.
think, are at 9, I believe.
So if you want to see some fireworks and you don't want to shoot off illegal fireworks, there are a couple options available to you.
The fun in that.
I understand.
Another thing, too, like I said, it's been dry, too, as far as the safety thing. If somebody is doing that, it's been extremely dry.
Yeah.
So.
But the year we set the dunes on fire with the gun. You missed that one.
I hate that.
Yeah. Okay. Mike's got some homework to do here.
We do have a prohibition on the use, manufacture, discharge, sale of pyrotechnics, fireworks, unless a person has attained the age of 16 years or they're in the presence of an adult 21 years of age or older. But of course, as the county manager said, there are state statutes which regulate the fireworks that may be legally used in North Carolina. Typically, or generally, it is anything that actually shoots up into the air is illegal. You can buy, like at Walmart, these little cones that sit on the ground and throw out sparks. Those are the legal ones in North Carolina.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next agenda item, public hearings. Item A, PB 19-2, Currituck County. Height. Request an amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 3, Zoning Districts, Section 3, .5.9 to increase the maximum building height from 35 to 65 feet in a heavy industrial zoning district. Ms. LaCicero is up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The text amendment that's before you tonight, cut to the chase, essentially in the heavy industrial zoning district would allow buildings for a maximum height to be built up to 65 feet. Currently, our ordinance limits all buildings in all zoning districts to a height limit of 35 feet. Now, this is, before you, it's a schematic of how we measure the building height. We measure it from the average finished grade adjoining the building to the highest point of the roof surface. Flat roof, we would measure from the top of the roof. In these different areas, you can see how we measure a height. For a gabled roof or a hip roof, we took the mean highest level between eaves and ridges. So the amendment would to change the dimensional standards from the heavy industrial district to allow a maximum building height from the current of 35 feet to 65 feet. We also are recommending that to address the scale and compatibility of an increased height of buildings in the heavy industrial, that we will do an increased setback from a 1-to-1 ratio. For every 1 foot above the 35 feet, we will do an additional 1 foot setback, so that the taller the building, the more it would need to be set back from the neighboring building. This is a county-sponsored text amendment because we've noted that in our industrial areas that we are attracting new types of businesses, and that building design could be keys to attracting these new businesses. This request does provide flexibility with building design and intensity within those buildings, such as some warehousing that may, the 35-foot may hinder what they can do within those warehouses. It will allow for areas of enclosed equipment, which is something that we've seen with the public safety building. We have an additional area in the public safety building that we need for enclosed equipment. So this would not only benefit the county's buildings, but any industrial buildings that could come into the county. We did, in your packet, we did do some benchmarking of the total building height from other jurisdictions. Camden County, in their heavy industrial district, their maximum height is 50 feet. Pasquotank County, in their industrial 1 district, 56 feet. In industrial 2 is 400 feet at the airship building. Dare County is 35 to 40, depending on the use type. Perquimans County, in their heavy industrial district, is 35 to 50, depending on the adjacent land use. The Isle of Wight in Virginia, the G1 district, or the GI district, 100 with increased setbacks above 35, the 1-to-1 ratio. Pittsburgh, for their manufacturing districts, 50-foot maximum height. In Onslow County, in their industrial district, it's 85-foot height with adequate fire protection. So the planning board did recommend approval, as long as staff recommend approval of this increase in the heavy industrial from 35 to 65-foot maximum height. They also recommended the increased setback to address scale and compatibility issues. A pretty simple and straightforward text amendment. So if the board has any questions, I'll be glad to answer it.
Yes, I got just one question. This height, is there any place in the Corolla or the Outer Banks area that would fall under this at all?
No, this is only for the HI, the heavy industrial district, and that is only located on the mainland.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You said the 1-for-1 setback, you said adjoining property, but wouldn't it be from the front of the property line?
It would be from all property lines, an increased setback, to make sure that there's adequate space from all properties, whether it's abuts a residential zone or another heavy industrial. So if you're going to get the additional height, you need to have space to have the additional setback.
So where are you measuring it from, though?
would be the property line. So the
Front property or the side?
all setbacks. We have front, rear, and side setbacks for our properties, and all those would be increased from that 1-to-1 setback.
Most of our heavy industrial areas are not in residential areas, is that correct? I'm trying to picture in my head where they're all at, but.
The majority of our heavy industrial areas are in industrial parks.
Right.
And there are some with some mining activity in different areas. But just due to the nature of our county, the heavy industrial areas do abut agricultural uses and agricultural zones often. And we do allow single-family residential in agricultural zones, just the nature
So
of.
maybe a few houses around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does this impact at all the industrial park out at the airport? Would it limit building height out there?
Would it limit building height?
Because of
They're
some of the
1-to-1.
lots are not that.
That's, yeah, thank you for pointing that out. With the 1-to-1 setback, and we're talking about compatibility next to it, but it's a heavy industrial area, do we necessarily want to worry about that in that area? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it would apply to the HI zoning at the, in the Maple Commerce Park. But once again, it's for any development already over exceeding that 35 feet. So they have that first 35 feet, and then they would have an additional setback after that.
So what would be the setback on the 35-foot height?
So it depends on your total maximum. If let's say you were going to build a 50-foot building, you would need an additional 15 feet of setback.
Do we know that every lot out there would accommodate that?
Well, it would depend on ultimately the size of your building, and I think those range. The ones in Maple Commerce range from 2.5 to 5 or 6 acres out there. So you're already looking at typically a minimum of 85,000 square feet of lot area. So that's, I mean, I would feel like they would have that opportunity to be able to accommodate the additional setback.
Is this stated in here somewheres, verbiage-wise, that says it's the setback from all boundaries? Or is it just assumed by reading this?
The example.
Huh?
In her example, it has that.
Right, but I'm just trying to find the verbiage where it says the setback would be applicable to all boundaries of the property. Versus somebody thinking it's just going to be off the main right-of-way or the main highway. I know the example of it, but I was just trying to see if it was actually written in here somewhere that states that, from all boundaries. But
I do have a couple of more questions,
Hey,
please.
sir.
I was looking at
Does it impact grain elevators?
No, it does not. Those are grain elevators, and the things of
Concrete.
the like are already exempted from that height
What about a
requirement.
concrete plant or an asphalt plant, because they have some pretty high structures?
Well, this would be, in the HI and the heavy industrial zoning district, and the heavy industrial zoning district is where we do allow something like an asphalt plant. So they would be able to.
Because I
Perhaps.
remember when Barnhill located down in Jarvisburg, somewhere in there behind the water park, we had to change the ordinance so they could put the tower for the asphalt plant in because it exceeded the height.
So, and these are, this is for conditioned space where people are going for human habitation, where people are going to be using, there's probably exemptions for things like grain elevators and towers that are not going to be human habitation, are not going to be, where people aren't going to be in on a regular basis. This is for like the main structure, the height of the main structure on a property, industrially zoned property.
Mike, to answer your question, it's in staff's recommendations, but it's not in the ordinance. That
Yes,
language is not in the
okay.
ordinance.
Any further questions for Ms. Cicero? Okay. I have no one signed at this time. I'll open up the public comment, and there's no one signed up. Would anyone like to speak to that? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment. Any further discussion from the board on this?
I'll motion to approve the ordinance.
You're going to move to approve the ordinance? Okay. Do any other discussion or?
Are we going to add the additional language?
I would
also ask that.
Yes.
Because I would suggest that we follow staff recommendation in the motion.
Okay, then I'll need for you to amend your motion to show those things.
All right, I move to approve PB 19-12, Currituck County, as proposed with the staff's recommendation. In addition, the required minimal structure shall be required to maintain an additional 1 foot setback for every 1 foot the structure exceeds 35 foot. Example, a 50-foot structure shall be required to be at least 35 feet from the front property line or 65 feet if located on a major arterial, 30 foot from the side property line and 40 foot from the rear property line. The text amendment request is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the 2006 Land Use Plan because an increased setback for structures exceeding 35 feet addresses the scale of the structure in relation to the property line, maintaining the UDO community compatibility standards and adequate fire protection, support proper distribution of development forms in accordance with the suitability of land infrastructure availability and the compatibility of surrounding land uses. The land use plan goal 10. And the request is reasonable and in the public interest because it maintains the purpose and intent of the HI zoning district and improves building design flexibility for new industry located in the county, and an increased setback along with the community compatibility standards ensure efficient development within the county and improve compatibility among land uses.
Okay, thank you. Before I call for a second, you have a question?
Yeah,
sir?
I've got a question for our county attorney. On the first part of that, does that example cover the? I know it doesn't state in there from all boundaries. But does that example suffice as the verbiage for on all boundaries?
To be required to be 35 feet from the front, 65.
Well, I think it may be helpful to add, as the planning director stated to you in her explanation, that it is a setback from all property lines.
Okay, and that exists. Okay,
So,
Well, it basically says that, right? Because
Well,
it says 35 from the front, 65 from a major arterial, 30
that's in
feet
the
from
example.
the side.
That's
in
an
the
example,
examples.
so-
That doesn't give the verbiage up top, though.
Right.
Oh, I got
Well,
you.
he read it in as his part of his motion.
Yeah.
I don't think he's. I don't.
I would-
Remember,
I
no,
would
I don't
su-
think he did.
I would suggest you could say, in addition to the required minimum structures shall be required to maintain an additional 1 foot setback from every property line for every 1 foot the structure exceeds 35
Yes.
feet.
That's what I was. Add that verbiage or change it to reflect that,
Okay.
if we
Okay.
could. If you.
Yeah, make the motion to amend that, what the county attorney said, to make the setback every 1 foot over the 35 foot
From each property.
from each property
Property
line.
line, yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I've got a question, and it's down on the chart of dimensional standards. And says minimum lot width is 125 feet. And if someone wanted to do a 65-foot tall building, they couldn't do it there unless they made it real narrow. I got a concern about that because I think that might apply out at Maple Industrial Park. Because you need a 60-foot, you need 30-foot additional on each side. So how much setback have you got now? Just on 35 feet, what is it?
I believe it's 15 feet, a 15-foot side yard setback.
So you got 90 feet there, you'd only have a building 35 feet wide. That's not very wide for an industrial use.
Especially if you're going to be looking at all sides, all boundaries.
Yeah.
Well, there are bigger lots. I think what was driving this, if if I understood correctly, was the scaling.
I don't have a problem with the scaling, but I think we better be careful that we're not shutting the door on somebody who might want to use an 80,000 square foot lot out there.
A recommendation from staff is that if that's a concern, you can always say that the increased setback is only applicable to property lines that aren't bordered by other industrial properties, which would clean up probably anything in an industrial park.
So internally it'd be fine. If there's someone behind them, then
That's what
we're going to get into this. Does that address your concerns, Commissioner Etheridge?
I'll go along with it because we can always come back if necessary and amend this if the need exists.
All right, so Commissioner McCord, you now have to amend again to adopt, as Mr. Stikelether suggested.
An amendment to add.
The language that I would recommend would be that the additional setback is only required when the property
Is not heavy
is
industrial.
not industrially zoned that borders that property line.
Okay. So what he said, the additional, if it's not zoned in heavy industrial, then it would apply. Everybody go with that?
I think
find
we
out in a minute.
need to get a nod from the other side over there.
Make sure she's
Make
captured all.
we've got everything and understand the motion.
So the motion to have the setback from all property lines except, and the additional setback is only applicable to the properties when the property's neighbor.
Anything other than than heavy industrial?
Okay,
Anything other than HI.
but from the road frontage, right, from the front, that still exists.
And that's where the setback is covered. Is it not? Or 65 feet if located in a major arterial setback. We don't have to approve this tonight.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make a recommendation?
Yes, sir.
I would like to see the rewrite of this and make sure it's capturing what we want it to capture.
Okay.
I agree.
For that.
I agree.
Okay, so you're going to withdraw your motion.
I'm going to withdraw my motion.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table this till next meeting and give staff time to gin up language to address our concerns.
I second it.
I would also like to see a couple of diagrams on how it would impact on certain lots, just so we can have something that we can see.
Okay. I think you need to amend your motion to reflect
Add
that.
part.
And I would like to amend my motion to include pictures for the commissioners to be able to review.
And I second it.
All right. Are we good now? Yeah, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I think it was Kitty. All right. Thank you all. Old business. Item A, agenda order of business. An ordinance of the Currituck County Board of Commissioners amending Section 2-65 of the Currituck County, North Carolina Code of Ordinances. And this was to allow change to our agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I want to move for approval of this.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, moves on. New business. Removed item A. Item B, resolution authorizing the upset bid process for sale of .4 acres of county-owned property located in Jarvisburg, North Carolina, parcel ID number 0109 0000110000. Mr. McCray.
Mr. Chairman, one method for a county to dispose of property is to receive unsolicited bids And if you are inclined to accept that bid, you then can order an upset bid process that will, after publication in a newspaper for a certain period of time, let others have the opportunity to also bid on the property. This particular piece of property is located in Jarvisburg. It is actually back behind the Jarvisburg Colored School property. It is a piece of property that the county bought in 1996 at a tax sale for $890. We now have received an offer from J.E. Simpson and Antonio Simpson to acquire the property for $900. The resolution before you would authorize the sale of the property for $900, but initiate the upset bid process with the property ultimately being sold to the highest bidder once that process is complete.
Okay.
What's the tax value?
The tax value is tax value shows at $31,600. The county again paid $890 for it at a tax sale.
That's a steal.
Could buy some school land.
Right.
Does it adjoin land that they already
Yes,
own?
it does. It is not easily accessible from 168, but it does adjoin land that the proposed purchasers currently own.
It does not adjoin the colored school.
No, it is some distance back behind the colored school property.
So is it basically landlocked back there?
It appears to be. From GIS, it appears that it's may well be an easement that allows for access to this lot and several others back behind the Jarvisburg Colored School.
Okay. All right. Anything further from the board? Looking forward for a motion?
I make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it carries unanimously. Item D, consent agenda. Any comments or concerns on the consent agenda this evening?
Move for approval.
Well, thanks. It was a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, carries. County manager's report is already over with, so
So we're over with.
can I have a motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you all.